Hello everyone and welcome back to the analysis desk here at the opening day of the DreamHack Warcraft 3 Championship, where we are getting ready for our upper bracket match of Group A. It's going to be a Night Elf mirror, and I am joined on the desk by the two casters of our first series, Remo and Todd. Remo, surprised to see Night Elf as Night Elf here?
A little bit, yes. You know, Focus was coming into this whole tournament as one of the stronger players, one of the big favorites. We keep talking about him as one of the big threats, especially against the Europeans. Both Foggy and Happy have had issues against him in the past, but looked not bad, I wouldn't certainly say that, but it wasn't his best performance yet. He has been destroying Night Elves quite a bit with his own FARSEIR style lately. Didn't work out necessarily so well there. Well, he won that game with the FARSEIR on Conceal, but the series goes to ReMinD. And again, ReMinD proving in these big tournaments, he just performs so well, and there's always a threat.
One of the best to ever do it. Todd, are you worried about Focus coming into this tournament? Because he was supposed to be one of the hottest orcs coming into it.
Yeah, maybe a little bit. There were some mistakes here that I saw from him that usually you wouldn't see. You know, like we're talking about in Anaheim, he was like one of the most solid players, made it all the way to the Grand Finals. Even beating Happy, he eliminated Happy. Imagine if you're Happy now looking at this. He's like rubbing his hands together. He's like, yes, let the elves eliminate the orcs so I can get rid of them myself. But yeah, a little bit of a disappointing first match, but it's the first match. Now he got that out of the way. Maybe he can pick up the pace a little more. He's not out of it just yet. He still has the lower bracket that he can qualify from. And, you know, it's going to be a tall order for Kraft down there to run into Focus immediately after meeting Foggy.
If I get really ahead of myself, guys, and you guys can stop me whenever you want, is there a chance we'll see Focus against ReMinD again?
I would say it's pretty likely, honestly. If we go through the numbers, now, many people's predictions would have been wrong for the first match, including mine.
Just Neo the Prophet. I thought he was memeing, but apparently he really is the Prophet guy.
No, it is not.
No?
Well, you know, he's been trying to establish that name for a long time. Maybe it's finally going to stick. But yeah, Foggy's Night Elf mirror is amazing. He's been so strong in that matchup for a really long time. Interestingly, though, ReMinD also in the past, years ago, was known for that one. He was historically great in Night Elf mirror. He was always the kryptonite to Moon, right? Moon was always the greatest player. By and large, but in Night Elf mirror, ReMinD would always have his number. Nowadays, the matchup is a lot different. The style has definitely changed. ReMinD isn't quite as well practiced as Foggy is, but I had a big question mark in my mind. How good is ReMinD's shape going to be heading into this tournament? I think he proved he's in good shape, but so did Foggy. The last couple of weeks, the last couple of tournaments, he's been looking amazing. And it's going to be one hell of a Night Elf mirror for our upper bracket.
You're getting me excited for it. Obviously, you guys at home can also let us know who you think is going to win our upcoming best of 3. Go ahead and place your votes. Let's see what kind of tags we're using this time. Hashtag FOG or FOG for Foggy. Hashtag REM for ReMinD. So I guess that hasn't really changed a whole lot. Todd, we've got some time to stall here as obviously the players are getting set up here on the stage. Talk to me about Night Elf versus Night Elf. What are the tiny details that I need to pay attention to?
Well, there is so many. First of all, like what strategy do we even see out of them? We've been seeing a lot of Demon Hunter, Naga, Bear Mirror, but there is also the Priestess that's also very, very strong. Not long ago, Colorful was kind of considered one of the best Demon Hunter Bear Mirror player, and he met ReMinD, and ReMinD beat him in a Bear Mirror, and I think a lot of people were like really shocked that the series opened up that way. Foggy is one of the guys that's extremely strong in Night Elf mirror, but he's in particular strong at mixing in different builds. He's very unpredictable, and he's capable of mixing in Priestess Hunts himself, or even Priestess Archers we've been seeing off. So maybe he'd be the one to go for that a little more, but both of them are like very unpredictable. ReMinD a little bit more on the aggressive side. It's very hard to predict like what they would do. Maybe it depends on maps as well, I think.
Well, let's go ahead and at least take a look at the head-to-head graphic. We'll dive into the map soon, but let's see how these two have done against each other historically. I gotta say, I like the graphic, it looks good, and I'm actually really hyped for Foggy in this tournament. We missed his opening match, we know he won 2-0, but I feel like Foggy really is one of the first guys that started to make a massive name for themselves after StarCraft 2 came out, right? Like past 2010, maybe starting 2012, 2013, everyone was talking about Foggy. I was like, what does it really mean? People still play Warcraft? And oh, sure they did, and this guy is still good all these years later. Yeah, and it's been wonderful to see his rise as well. The work ethic that he's displaying has been second to none, especially in Europe. He's been practicing hard. Back in 2012-13, he was known for kind of cheesy strategies like proxy Hippo Riders and stuff like that. He was trying to cheese his way to China, for example, where he was successful with WCA. But his style has changed. He's become a lot more reliable. He has fashioned his style largely after Moon, being reliant on strategies, good timings, great
preparation. That's what he's known for. These weekly tournaments, sometimes not where he shines so much, where he has to grind one game after the next, but if he's got the time to specifically prepare something, that's where really his genius is going to come out. And I think ReMinD is on the other side of that. I think it's going to be different in styles.
Let's go ahead and take a look at the map Vetoes, as I do believe we have those coming in. And then Todd, maybe you can let us know if something speaks out for you. I know it's a mirror, but I can only assume that certain maps still say, favor certain playstyles. I know it's a bit far away.
I don't think my eyes are good enough.
We're not getting any younger. I'll read it out for you. ReMinD got rid of Echo Isles. Foggy decided to veto Concealed Heal, and Shallow Grave was the second veto of ReMinD. And the last veto of Foggy was Tidehunter. So I guess we end up playing on Last Refuge, Northern Isles, and which one am I missing, guys?
Hey, Last Refuge, good for archers, by the way, like one of those maps where you're gonna see archers like more often than not. It can devolve into like more standard matchups. Usually this is Remo's segment, though. I don't want to take away from like the man himself.
Yeah, especially in this matchup, it comes down a lot to what's a good Potterm map and what isn't. In the past, it was always Concealed Hill. I'm surprised to see Foggy veto this one. He's normally the guy who really likes to play the Potterm and who's really strong with it. Also Amazonia in the past, but that's not in the pool anymore.
All right, well, it is time for us here over at the desk to make our official predictions. I got off to a terrible start. So you know what? I'm just gonna do what I've been doing in life for a long time, and that is copy my good friend Johan Merlo. Todd, why don't you kick things off with predictions over here?
I love both of these guys, and I always kind of like vote with my heart, so it's really hard to. I think they can hear me as well, so I have to be careful. I'm gonna go for ReMinD. I'm feeling like ReMinD. Wow. I feel like all you tryhards will pick Foggy, so somebody has to be behind ReMinD. I'm gonna be that guy. All right, I got you back, ReMinD. Shiba Inu team all the way, 2-0.
Remo?
All right, 2-0, Foggy. He's peaking at the right time. And he's not going to be stoppable.
Well, I really enjoyed that previous best of 3 we had on the main stream, but I'm going to go with Foggy, Todd. I apologize, but I'll make it a 2-1. You know, I hope for some close games. Could be a long one, could be a short one, could be somewhere in the middle. But I think it's going to be good, guys. I'm excited for it. I feel like, you know, Night of Mirror is kind of special. Let's go ahead and see what you guys at home decided, who you guys think is going to win. What do we think? 65, 70% Foggy?
Oh, 85. The chat loves Foggy. Don't you see the froggies for Foggy?
85%?
Yeah.
After ReMinD just beat
Look at that.
Oh. All right, we have a new prophet. Sorry, Neo.
Told you.
All right, speaking of the men, I believe Neo and Carson are ready to bring you guys the upper bracket match of Group A. Have fun, guys.
Oh, you bet we're ready. Night of Mirror to determine the first quarterfinalists of the DreamHack finals. Foggy versus ReMinD. What a match this is. It's the new god of Night of Mirror versus the old god of Night of Mirror.
Absolutely, yeah, and they both have so much experience. I think ReMinD might tilt a little bit more towards the Bear Mirror style of things. Sure. Whereas Foggy may be a little bit more on the cheesy side. He likes his priestess, he likes the sort of different stuff, so we'll see. And of course, we'll keep mentioning the 2 best of 5s against Moon recently that Foggy played, so he's definitely got a lot of practice.
Yeah, and not only the 2 maps versus Moon in that tournament, he also defeated Lawlight in that tournament right before. Absolutely. So it was basically a Night of Mirror upper bracket run for Foggy, and nobody was able to stop him. There was, of course, different conditions on servers, etc., etc. But yeah, Foggy, he has this matchup figured out, and his toolbox is filled to the brim. He can play it all.
Yeah, there's so much to study if you're against Foggy. Always, I feel like almost in every matchup, there's so much to study. But really, in this matchup in particular, there's so many, even just with a priestess first, there's like 5 different, not even just cheeses, but macro styles. And then with the Bear Mirror, he can get very tactical, tricky with the Zeppelin drops. He's been so good recently, Foggy, at these sort of split pushes all over the map. I feel like we're going to see a lot of that if it is a Bear Mirror.
I'm really curious because Foggy is one of the guys who prepares the most and the best for these matches. Did he prepare for a winner's final versus Focus? Does he, did he expect that ReMinD could be his opponent? That is the question here. But in the bottom left-hand side, everybody, we see the former WCG and BlizzCon champion, the Night of Legend, is ReMinD.
And in the upper right, the legendary Master of Europe, it is Foggy.
Bam, that Froggy to support Foggy. That's what the Twitch chat is all about. But can the old master, the old legend, show the young wizard how it's done? We're kicking things off on Northern Isles, and usually for decades, I would say. Night of Mirror was about bears and bears and bears and bears. What is this map about between the two?
Well, I think there's definitely opportunity to play both styles, the Potterm and the Bearmere. Of course, as Zeppelin becomes very important, and we, of course, have the lab on Northern Isles. But we're actually seeing a Keeper, and correct me if I'm wrong, that's generally the counter to the Priestess. He's trying to blind counter the Priestess of the Moon, but he's going to be in for a rude awakening here in a second.
This is quite interesting right off the bat. We've seen a lot of Demon Hunters, we've seen a lot of Potterms. Keeper was kind of rare recently, and there's a good reason for that, and that's the Demon Hunter. Because what's the Keeper without mana?
Absolutely, it's nothing. It's maybe an aura in the late game if it is bears, but yeah, this tends to make you kind of have to go for some sort of an early all-in or get some sort of pressure done, some sort of an advantage, because later on, especially once there's level 2 mana burn, like you say, Keeper's just pretty much an archer with a little bit more health.
Yeah, for Foggy's game, by the way, in the Winnerbracket semifinal versus Kraft, we had a few looks at that, and Foggy looked really strong, especially on game 1, where he was facing some gargoyles. Map 2 was a little more cookie cutter. He was struggling there a bit. Kraft with a good performance, but you know, Foggy on that matchup is a freaking beast, and so yeah, it went 2-0 for him. ReMinD, a little bit of a longer series, and even though he's 35, that shouldn't really do much to him. We have Evasion first, actually, and you know what? I like that choice from ReMinD.
Yeah, this matchup can sometimes all skew towards the Moonwell mana, so if you have the advantage in the Moon Juice, especially after that first nighttime, it can help you out a lot. And going Evasion first, of course, you save some health, and he's going to get level 2 right here anyway off this Murloc. The items, Circlet, and Cloak of Shadows Gauntlets, I think both players are going to be pretty happy with these items so far.
Yeah, man, a couple of years before, that Cloak would have been an insta-sell, I guess, but 2021 is the year of the Cloak. Everybody seemed to embrace it now to be able to hide a little bit, maybe steal a creep or just evade some shots. That Circlet not as useless as it once was. So Foggy, Huntress transition or Huntress opening into tier 2, so no early rush.
Yeah, and one archer goes down. The Wisp was in position, but a little bit late in the Treant to secure that first kill. So first blood on the side of Foggy. Nicely done so far. He's going to be looking for those archer snipes throughout this entire early game, especially before he's getting mana burn time and time again. Don't think he'll be able to get another one. He's really close to the base. Nice little deny there, but the Demon Hunter's now coming in. But perfectly timed. There's no mana on the Keeper anyway.
True. Now he can't be burned. He doesn't take damage. And ReMinD losing the next Moonwell here. ReMinD recently had, in DreamHack Fall, right? He had an encounter with Colorful and was able to win that, which was pretty crazy. But there's also this game tape for Foggy to study, especially in the Night of Mirror. If he wanted to prepare for ReMinD, he was able to.
Absolutely. Yeah, and you know, both these players are very preparation-heavy players, I would say, especially on the Foggy side of things, but ReMinD being so experienced, I'm sure he put a lot of effort in preemptively to prepare for all the top European players that maybe he's not competing with a ton.
Foggy a little quicker here, gets the staff and the dust, the items he wanted. ReMinD also not too unhappy with the Boots of Speed. He can keep chasing this Demon Hunter now, as he is obviously faster, and get rid of more and more mana, hoping to drain the Moon Juice a little bit to get rid of regen from Foggy. But I think our Ukrainian hero is not feeling too threatened yet.
Yeah, he's being chased a little bit, but he's been out of mana for quite a while. Oh, that's so cool from the Huntress.
Boy.
Oh my god, that is so sick. He attacks the hut so that the bouncing glaive from the Huntress can hit the Wisp, and now the Wisp will certainly fall. The creeps wake up a little bit, but not the end of the world. Very, very cool there. Innovative.
And it kind of goes to show that Foggy's mind is 100% in the right place. Previously in some tournaments, his results were always good, but the start was oftentimes shaky.
Yes.
Losing maps against underdogs, I would say. This is not happening anymore. Since a couple of DreamHacks, I would say since Fall especially, that's completely shut off. If Foggy is there, he's 100% there or more.
Yeah, we've definitely seen a new Foggy in the last month, maybe a little more than that. He seems to come to play, and he's really getting up to that level of a Tier 1 Night Elf player with the likes of players like Colorful and Moon. That staff was really important because the Boots of Speed would have eventually forced the Town Portal onto that Keeper. Now the Archers can get in. Of course, a very strong counter to the Huntresses, but if the Huntresses can get on top, they can start to do some damage. But for now, Foggy will be in full retreat mode.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised if ReMinD is slipping in macro because his Huntress Hall seemed kinda late, but his lures are coming now. That could have been a little faster since ReMinD was going... Wait, ReMinD was going... No, Foggy was a little late with the Huntress Hall, maybe.
Yeah, it's ending up pretty even lore-wise. I'm really wondering for Foggy what the secondary heroes going to be for both players. In fact, will it be the Nagas for both? That might be standard. We could have Demon Hunter second on the side of ReMinD. So I'm wondering.
All right then. By the way, I'm a little confused because it's
Yes.
Foggy on the left-hand side and
Yes.
ReMinD's camera is on the left-hand side, so I'm not 100% sure what is right at the moment. Maybe production can tell us. Ring of Regen, kind of nice. And we're going into a bear play by ReMinD, as it seems. Foggy, is he staying on tier 2 playing this Archer Dryad or not?
The Keeper's going to be pressured quite a bit, but the Huntresses are there to block and do some nice normal damage to that Demon Hunter. Of course, a very good damage type against heroes. And the chase just continues. Get the boots of speed, chase around that Keeper, keep him off level 3. If he did get level 3, he could start to seriously pressure those archers, but that Ring of Regen also going to help with the damage he's been taking. And the Staff, of course, off cooldown again for ReMinD.
Okay, he has to run and go away. Now we have a tier 3 tech.
Pit
It's the
Lord.
Pit Lord.
Pit Lord.
Keeper Pit Lord.
All right.
You're the theory crafter, Carson. Please explain this to everybody.
Well, I mean, the Pit Lord can be quite the late game carry that the Keeper, of course, is not going to be against the Demon Hunter. And on Northern Isles, there's a marketplace, plenty of claw drops. He's already got a gauntlets and a circlet. That's +5 strength right off the bat with that cleave. He can be your late game carry, where otherwise you'd have a nice orb carrier in the Demon Hunter or the Priestess, something like that. So I think it's not bad. It's definitely unorthodox, but I like it.
Okay, we'll see how that goes. Roar could potentially deal or be countered by Howl, but ReMinD probably has his very own idea, as he always has. Okay, now we're fixing the cameras, as it seems. Wonderful. So that explains a lot, like Foggy not going for a Keeper early, but for a Demon Hunter. That's way more his style, and ReMinD dashing out this cheesy build, also way more his style, so the confusion is hopefully lifted.
For sure. Yeah, I definitely think that makes a lot more sense than maybe ReMinD showing that he needs to throw a couple of curveballs to get an advantage in this series. And I think this is a great way to do it. It's going to make Foggy a little bit afraid to go maybe the Potterm later on in this series, in map 2, in potentially map 3. And now this Pit Lord, if he can get some nice items, +9 potentially from this expansion camp, then he can really start to carry.
He's already a beast when it comes to tanking and standing in the front row, but that's usually not what Night Elves want from a hero, right? They have the bears, they are kinda tanky if there's no magic damage, and the treants should be there as well. Rune Bracers, not the greatest find, but the experience is what matters here. Foggy actually with a Keeper second. Too late for the Naga, or what's the deal here?
Yeah, I don't think either of them really met in the middle at the tavern when you generally have that early tier 2 timing where you might exchange some archers, but of course, when there is Huntresses on the other side, it might be a little tempting to not go for that Naga because you just can't get a leg up in the early tier 2 exchanges. So Marketplace now going to go to Foggy. Hellstone, that's a tanky boy on that Demon Hunter now, but Marketplace being open once it's fully crept out means the Pit Lord can maybe go buy some items.
Oh yeah, claws, more gauntlets, belt, all that boosts the damage is good for the pity. And he's leveling up quite well, close to level 3. Abandons the Keeper a tiny little bit, who's at this stage, of course, if there's the spell, not as important anymore. He might even switch with the Tome of Retraining to Thornzora down the road, or go for a 1-1-1 build. Many possibilities here for ReMinD.
Yeah, I think it'd be an excellent idea to even prioritize that Thornzora. Go level 2 if you're just at level 3, get level 1 Entangle maybe to control that Demon Hunter a tiny bit. But for now, they're just both creeping, which I have to say might favor ReMinD. He wants to get this Pit Lord up and leveled. He wants to get the nice items, and he's even going to get a red camp in exchange for just a Tusker on the side of Foggy. I think this is not going poorly at all.
Foggy still has the left-hand side red cap and the lab. He could go for it. Depends on what ReMind's follow-up plan is at that stage. We have Ancient Django of Endurance, which is absolutely excellent. More attack speed, more movement speed, always appreciated. Especially movement speed in mirror matches gives you this tiny little edge.
Yeah, that's going to be really nice. And also worth mentioning, the roar on the Pit Lord is going to be great too. That's not something we see too often. Demon Hunter just flips out. He would have had to use the town portal. You don't want to be wasting those consumables early on until we get into the big fights. And now the lab's being taken. That's going to be Keeper level 3 on the side of Foggy, so he's going to be able to get that Aura level 2 most likely, I would think. And he gets a Claws +9. Not really what he was looking for, but it's still going to be quite nice.
Yeah, it's never bad to have more damage. Everybody is looking for more damage. Well, looking at the natural gold mines, there's nothing really, so nobody's daring to expand. It's all about upgrades. We have 1-0 for Foggy at the moment, ReMinD with a 0-1. What makes more sense in a Bear Mirror? To go for defense upgrade, to go for attack upgrades? No, I don't know if the math has been done yet.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure someone's done the math, and of course there's always the question when you're up against Thorn's Aura, do you go for just pure armor upgrades? But
Carson!
oh, that's
Yep.
speaking of upgrades, that's quite the upgrade on the side of the items.
Yes! The Vamp Aura in combo with the level 2 Thorns Aura. So whenever ReMinD is attacking the units of Foggy, he takes damage. And whenever Foggy is attacking the units of ReMinD, he gets HP back. That sounds very unfair to me.
That's it's pretty strong. It's almost a game-winning item. They both have strong auras now, though.
Yep.
They, in fact, both will have 2 strong auras soon enough. And for 400 gold, the cheap price of that at the marketplace, you could always get your own nice Vampiric Aura if you are ReMinD. It's expensive, but he's probably going to make more than one stop at that shop.
Oh, don't tell me he's approaching that red spot now with Foggy following him in his tracks. Can't really do that. He's roaring up, probably howling his opponent soon. Foggy, wonder how much Dispel he has. Is there Wisp? Because this howl could be very effective if there's no AoE Dispel. It seems like Wisps are not here yet.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's all about the buffs, debuffs, auras in these fights. There's a lot of, you know, pre-positioning when you get in Bear Mirror fights, but mostly once they're in that position, they're just going to be mauling each other. Whoever has the better upgrades, the better auras, of course, and the better positioning, maybe more heal scrolls, which it currently is 2-1 in Foggy's favor. That's who's going to win the fight. There's not a ton of fancy micro you can do here. Just get in a good position, and we'll see it right here, who has the better position.
Yeah, both still with tier 1 units in their army. We have Huntress, we have Archers that should benefit Foggy a little bit, but he's down in supply by 8. And ReMinD has access to that lab. He could go for a Zeppelin, but this is the first big fight of the map.
Yeah, a lot of treants, illusions in the back that's going to help out a ton, but immediately ridden of by the Dispel. Bears seem to be better positioned currently for ReMinD. The Drives in the back doing quite a bit of damage. Rejuve over top of the Demon Hunter, who's doing a ton of damage, but the Pit Lord's now getting into the back line. He can start the cleaving. Look at the Archer.
Oh my god, this is sick, and he's not even level 5 yet. Heal Scroll, Foggy was prepared for that, but that's the only one. Bears seem to be melting also thanks to that Orb of Venom. The Pit Lord finally down, but I think he got the Invul Potion. Yes, he absolutely did. Another Heal Scroll used, but that was the last one in this fight.
Oh, ReMind's doing quite a good job. The Bears are being micro back on the side of Foggy. He has 3 red HP Bears. 1 to the north of the fight goes down. But this Pit Lord with that Potion of Invulnerability is just clobbering everything along with the Bears. And ReMind's definitely taking this fight and now taking a 6 supply advantage.
Unbelievable. He's dropping quite a bit. Foggy is TPing out. A couple of Bears were down, so we have to look at the armies. Who has the higher tier army, who has the bigger army. Foggy in the past 2 seconds of this fight was dropping another 8 supply, and you look at the difference in army value. ReMinD is taking quite a lead here.
Yeah, he's up by 12 supply. One thing in Foggy's favor, he hasn't broken upkeep. If the game tilts towards a more passive approach, of course, ReMind's going to get the remaining camps on the map. But Foggy's going to be able to bank, maybe get an upgrade advantage. So I think it's in ReMind's favor right now to go for another fight once he heals up.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Foggy would like to stall a little bit, rebuild this army, grind a couple of minutes in no upkeep, and then go for this pure bear fight where with the Vamp Aura, with the Thorns Aura, with even upgrades, he should have the lead for sure.
There he comes. Even the Ancient War has made the long journey. Okay, it's going to be included in the battle. Quite the nice carry with that nice normal damage, a good frontline tank, and Foggy immediately breaks upkeep again. He does have decent Moonwell mana. None of them are full except for that top one. But maybe with the shop in the back, with the Moonwells, with the Wisp being preemptively pulled, can Foggy get a good enough positioning in this fight?
The scariest position for ReMinD is already done. He doesn't have to squeeze through that needle hole entrance to the base. Foggy, of course, instant unit production, and the Moonwells and the Wisps here has to use it against the Howl.
That upgrade kicks in right on time for Foggy. The Ancient War in the back is doing work. The Pit Lord is still destroying. He's seen the Demon Hunter and 3 Bears currently. Wisp coming in from the back for ReMinD now. The Aura's doing work. The Pit Lord's doing work. Town Portal out right before the Pit Lord was about to fall because he had nothing to save himself. And Foggy holds on, but he's still down by, what's the math, 23 supply currently?
They say don't do math on stream, but that was excellent, Carson. Very, very good math 101 from you there. Pretty even fight, I would say. ReMinD, though, uses heal scroll. That's another 250 gold that are out the window now. And Foggy reclaims map control. That's important. Get access to the shop, get involved heal scroll, protector scroll, whatever. He's also going to the lab, and I wonder, with this amount of bears, is he preparing a Doom drop?
Perhaps that's maybe what he has to do. You mentioned buying time earlier before that last fight, and that's exactly what he's doing. He's gonna go for a drop. He's going to stop by the expansion just to see, probably, and then he'll go into the main base. But ReMind's already taking a very aggressive position. Is there a town portal? Okay, there's no town portal on the side of ReMinD. And for Foggy, there is one. Are we getting into base race territory? Because Foggy, he can't go back.
ReMinD can't go back without a TP.
Yeah.
Foggy can if he wants to. Still some time stolen. This is the crucial moment. And this is also one of the new strengths of Foggy. He doesn't give up too early. He doesn't go into these one-on-one fights. He has different solutions. He has a plan B, he has a plan C, and this is plan D with a drop into the base. Roar, and off we go. I wonder if this tree has Nature's Blessing. I don't really think so. No, he doesn't, and there's no chance to repair this. So this one will 100% go down. The question is, how much damage can ReMinD do in return?
Yeah, and Foggy, can he town portal and defend? I don't think so. So we have a base race here in game one. This is going to come down to buildings. The wisp spread on the map. We have to keep an eye on that. Where are the buildings? Where's the Ancient War on the side of Foggy? The one for ReMinD already went down. This is a true base race, Neil.
Oh my god, it's clubbering time for sure. Who can roar up better? Who gets the better angles? I don't envy our wonderful observer here in this game. This might go down to the very, very last building in no time. Foggy did save a wisp, and that might be the game-winning move.
Yeah, I think ReMinD has a slightly better wisp spread on the map. Okay, there's a tree being built. They're trading bases entirely now, and a tree of life is being constructed. All right, of course, ReMind's always going to have the upper hand when it comes to killing buildings. He's got more bears on the field, and they might as well be siege tanks. They're very, very good at killing these buildings, and we're down to pretty much just what's on the map. And the Zeppelin could also really come in handy for Foggy.
Exactly. How much anti-air is there left for ReMinD? Foggy, by the way, sold the Orb of Venom to build these buildings now, because there's not going to be another fight. That's for sure. Foggy, 16 supply down. Hero's not really in his favor. He should never take a fight. He's finding another building of his opponent. Good Demon Hunter control. And I wonder, GG!
That was the last building. Was that the last building?
Whoa,
really?
Okay.
Oh
Apparently that was. And Foggy... Wait, ReMinD wins? Are we sure about that?
The Demon Hunter canceled that last building.
Yeah.
It was the Demon Hunter that canceled the last building. So unless there's some confusion, yeah, that was quite the crazy end. I feel like there was more wisps on the map.
I thought so too, but apparently not.
Buildings.
Ooh, crazy. We should get this. I'm pretty sure that Foggy wins, as I have still red units on the map where I'm locked in, but damn, Foggy.
Yeah.
He was sweating there quite a bit, but this new confidence, I know the way out. I know how to win. You might have a better army, you might have a better composition. I don't really care.
Absolutely.
Crazy.
That's the one thing that Foggy's gotten so great at recently. Before, in the past, he's always been a dominant player in Europe. He's always had the cookie cutter style down pat, and the mechanics very, very down pat as well. But I think it's the tactics that he's gotten really good at now. The split, the hit and run, splitting his army up, finding a way back into the game, like you mentioned. That's what Foggy has mastered. It feels like maybe in the last month even, he's gotten really to the next level, to even the moon level, I dare say.
I definitely agree. And also, he stopped making big mistakes. Like this last hit with an Engine of War while creeping, stuff like that. It's not happening anymore. And here this big fight where we thought, okay, ReMinD takes this. The fight definitely won. And how impressive is it that a almost semi-inactive ReMinD can still go head-to-head with one of the strongest Knight of Mirror players in the world in the Bear Mirror and win?
Yeah, he was definitely at the advantage for such a long time in this game, and there's that Zeppelin drop. Always an exciting end to Bear Mirrors. We see this honestly pretty often. It's the most common matchup that we may see base races in. It's very, very common, and it's always exciting. It's always a brilliant end. So that was definitely a great map one.
Yeah, but also a little bit of a slip by ReMinD to not think of that or to not see it coming, because access was available and relatively quickly available. I don't know. Could have been expected, but with this army he had, was there a way to counter that even?
It's tough without having a town portal, right? I think that was the main thing. If he had a TP, he had still the 24 supply advantage, whatever it was. He didn't have the Zeppelin, but he had the Pit Lord to carry him. He would have easily won a fight if Everett was drawn to that conclusion. But yeah, I just feel like I asked the question again, was there not potential for more buildings to be built, or was it just a little bit of fumbly-bumbly, oops, I had a wisp, but I didn't build a building? You know, that does happen. It's a high-pressure game.
And maybe a little nerves coming into play. Of course, both players would have a chance in the lower bracket final if they lose right here. But Foggy now one map away from another top 8 performance where he always ends up recently. Like, when was the last time Foggy was eliminated in group stage? I can't remember. I mean, I'm getting old, and my memory is kind of bad, but I can't remember.
I think you're correct in this regard. I can't remember anything either, and this is really, I feel like, Foggy's tournament. If he's going to play this well throughout, I think we even were mentioning in private, maybe he can make it to the Grand Finals. This could be his run. This could even be a European Grand Final if Foggy and Happy are both dominating. So if Foggy's in shape, maybe.
Not an American Grand Final? No, it's not set in stone. I mean, I heard NA #1.
I'll wait till the players play to start. How about that? We'll wait and see, and then you'll hear me.
But it's a quite cool comparison between the two players, because the one, like ReMinD, he has won it all. He's won the BlizzCons, the WCGs. He had the highest place, he was there. And Foggy, just so close. 2-time silver medal at WGL/GCS. Never really got the big one. This is his week.
Absolutely. Yeah, the big one offline, where it counts. I don't even think, I mean, you mentioned Foggy's making some little errors, but there's never been big sweeping errors in these offline tournaments. He's always played clean. I just don't think he was at that next level. This is the first offline tournament where we see him at that next level.
One more map for Foggy for the round of 8, and ReMinD. Can he kick back this time? A little bit of a different situation for him than in the Winnerbracket semifinal versus Focus, but we take a look at the bottom left-hand side. In the red, it is Warcraft Wizard. From the Ukraine, it's Foggy.
And in the upper right, gonna try to clobber his way back. The Bears did not work out. The Pit Lord didn't work out, but maybe Last Refuge will. It's ReMinD.
So cool to have him here after all these years. But now he has to do it. Lower bracket is packed with Krav and Focus. That match for elimination is coming up next. And now I wonder what's this gonna be. Usually, I would say Demon Hunter opening Bears possible, but on Last Refuge you can always go for a little more aggressive pushes, and ReMinD is probably one of the most aggressive Night Elves. So is there potential for a Naga? Is there potential for Mass Air? There's definitely potential for a Potterm.
Yeah, this is great. I think Foggy's kind of showing that he's pretty confident here because, you know, not being like, oh, I'm going to play a Keeper again. Maybe I'll play it safe and go for the Demon Hunter again just in case. He's saying, nope. You're not doing it twice in a row. I'm going to go Potterm. Either we're going to have a Potterm mirror or I'm going to have the advantage against the Demon Hunter. And Last Refuge, it could be Huntresses, but a lot of the time we've been seeing this Mass Archer Naga second push on Last Refuge, which I think is a very scary timing.
It's super powerful. If you try to rush to Bears, there's several opportunities for the opponent to break you prior. And that is either Mass Archers or even a Talon push. With the Potterm, that all gets boosted because of True Shot, but Foggy takes the Searing Arrows first, a little bit of damage. Potterm, of course, not as weak against the Demon Hunter than a Keeper is, because she barely needs mana anyway.
Yeah, and that Wisp timing actually indicates that ReMinD was expecting a Demon Hunter. You send the Wisp a little bit earlier normally because or else the Potterm chases down the Wisp always and kills it. So you'll send it earlier if you're against the Potterm so you can scout maybe a Hunter's Hall or maybe see the Potterm just come out and run it away. So I think ReMinD was expecting a Demon Mirror here, but he's going to be a little bit surprised. I don't think pleasantly surprised.
Nah, not really. And for a long time, it was always the case that if you see a Potterm, then get ready for a rush, right? Like, tech as fast as you can, build an AP, wall off, get maybe a Tinker Second or whatever to hold this. But Night Elves have a plan B. They can choose now between either go for this very, very dedicated push or even expand, and Last Refuge is definitely a map where you could expand on.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. Yeah, you fake the push, you fake the all-in, your opponent gets ready, goes a suboptimal second hero, sometimes even Beastmaster. You mentioned the Tinker, but there's a couple of options. And then what do? You just expand and go tier 3. You go, you're sitting in your base, I gotta creep the map, get an expo up, and that's the cards that you hold when you are the Potterm player.
A little bit of a rush to the merchant. Will he stack him? Nope, no circlet here. Was wondering if he wants to go for that, but no, it's just dust to get reveal and maybe get some archers. We also have no Huntress transition, but a second engine of war. So he's gonna go mass, and he's sticking to archers as it seems.
Yeah, so if we do see this timing from Foggy, this is what we're going to likely see. We're going to see the Potterm try to creep level 3. We're going to see a Naga at tier 2, a shop. He's going to buy a potion. He's going to buy a staff. He's going to try to get map control with that Naga and creep the shops for the consumables. Then when daytime hits, Foggy's going to buy a heal scroll, protection scroll, and go for that all in and try to drain those moonwells in the meantime as much as he can.
Last hit, I think, went too far. ReMinD?
Yes.
But he needs one more for level 2. There we go. Finally, mana burn, as we said. It's not about the utility of getting rid of the Potterm, but it's also a little bit of damage, and the Potterm, not the tankiest heroes of all time.
For sure, and he's done a very good job, Foggy, of staying away from that Demon Hunter, of kiting, putting some damage. And I say it time and time again in Night Elf Mirror, but I'm going to say it again. The Moonwell mana is so important. That's what it comes down to, especially on the side of ReMinD. Does he have Moon Juice when he's getting prepared? Is that a shop aggressively?
That is the shop, exactly. A little similar to what we see recently on Tidehunters, where Night Elves are positioning the shop close to the tavern, and now Foggy is just spending all day close to the tavern. And then get the Naga. Ideally, prevent the Naga for ReMinD.
Yeah.
And then go for the push. This is going to be scary, but I'm very sure ReMinD knows what's coming, but is he ready?
Yeah, I think this is an excellent choice from ReMinD. He knew his timings. He knew what Foggy would be doing on the map, and he's going to be able to get the shot. The question is, can he get the last hit? Mana burn, greater heal. That is the nuts. That's exactly what ReMinD needs.
Also the experience gets him closer to level 3. Little bit of the scraps here, the Potterm. Not level 3 yet. I wonder, is that enough on her? He sends the Potterm away. Oh my god, right on the dot.
And now a little bit of light pressure. I think if Foggy commits too hard in here, this would be a mistake. I think he just wants to pressure a bit, drain those Moonwells a bit, force the Demon Hunter to go back and heal up, and then fall back and wait for the heal scrolls, wait for daytime, and then do a final push. But for now, with this Naga advantage, you mentioned the tavern control, he's going to be able to put a ton of pressure on the base. Maybe this isn't too soon.
So what's ReMinD doing now? He could send something to the tavern. I think he did that. I think I saw some movement around the tavern. But Foggy, with a nice positioning between army and shop, he can always attack something, even though ReMinD is pulling back. Here we go. The Panda is supposed to be the carry against mass archers.
Yeah, I think the Panda will be able to do quite a good job. The archers are all clumped, and Foggy does not have that heal scroll. Still plenty of Moonwell mana, but maybe Foggy could just even TP out of here and then heal up and push again. I think that might be wise, because if not, he might lose a few archers. He's putting a lot of damage on the Demon Hunter, but his Potterm's getting quite low as well. Wait, okay, the Town Portal's on the Naga. It was swapped over.
yeah. The spread by Foggy, I think, actually pretty good. Potterm in trouble now. Oh my god, can he swap it? No, the TP, as you said, was on the Naga, and it was a little too hard for the Potterm here, and that push didn't work out at all since the Panda arrived. And now Foggy, he has resources to get the Potterm back at the altar, but not at the tavern, and it's all ReMinD now. Okay, there we go.
Yeah, and Foggy's just going tier 3. Like, I think that was, well, obviously it was a mistake there from Foggy, but I think as soon as the Panda came in, he could have just Town Portaled. He did so much damage to the Moonwells right before daytime, and now he's being pressured. This Panda almost has another breath in the tank as well. And Foggy's got to go with his tail between his legs, go back home and heal up. And the tier 3 is going to be about another minute or so, minute and a half.
We'll see this again. The Potterm a little out of position, getting blocked by the own archers. Naga has to wrap around to hand over the TP, but it was just a tiny bit too late. And then she got fried.
Yeah, I'm wondering why the TP was on the Naga with full hit points anyway. He passed it preemptively, but it was really in no danger, especially when there's no counter Naga. That tends to be when your second hero will go down, but yeah, maybe Foggy getting a little too fancy there with the preemptive pass, and now he's going to struggle to find an army that can fight for quite a while. The tier 3 is almost even.
Yeah, I could see that it's a little bit of a mechanic by Foggy, because there's so much Naga on Naga action between them.
Yes.
And maybe he thought, okay, it's tier 2. There's always focus on my Naga. She is pretty squishy. So let's just do it. But yeah, I think the Potterm being a little out of position and the archer blocking is a bigger mistake than having the TP on the Naga, actually. But okay, ReMinD, back in the game.
Yeah, even supply. The tier 3 will hit first for Foggy, but he won't be able to find the advantage of the tech for quite a while. Can't go back if he did want an orb. and he's going to wait for the marksmanship. He's going to wait for the attack upgrades. I'm wondering if we're going to see anything like lures. Maybe Mountain Giants could be wise in this sort of a position. But for now, lures only on the side of ReMinD. And I think one thing ReMinD has to be searching for, and one thing Foggy has to try to prevent, Panda level 3. That's going to decimate the archers.
Foggy is a little late with the 4th Moonwell. He's supply blocked at the moment. I mean, you can always, especially against the Panda, go for scrolls and spend your resources that way. He had to spend a lot of resources on the Potterm revive. But yeah, it's not going to be a big army, and this is a lot of time for ReMinD.
A little bit of a stalemate. Foggy can't actually directly fight right now, but he also doesn't want to let ReMinD creep, so they're both just running back and forth. If ReMinD were to turn around right now, I bet you Foggy would turn around and go home as well. We might see this for a while. Wellspring going to kick in as well. Nighttime's a little ways away, but we could always see a Moonstone and Marksmanship also kicking in. Oh, but Foggy forgot his Hunter's Hall, so he can't get Marksmanship yet.
Whew, can't get any upgrades.
Yeah.
No Ultra Vision, no unit upgrades, no lures. Like, what unit is he going to? Like, the lures for ReMinD are already there. Master or Bear training is already there. Okay, that makes a lot more sense to go for Engines of Wind now. You can't wait until the Hunter's Hall is finished, then build the lures, then go for the upgrades. ReMinD will just be like, way too far ahead.
Yeah.
But there's an easy counter to everything Foggy's building, and that's Mountain Giants.
Absolutely, and we could see that no problem. I think having a bear or two is great for Rejuve and Roar with the massive archers we have, but as soon as ReMinD sees those talons, of course you can just get those Mountain Giant upgrades online, and for now I don't think he's in any danger of really dying to a push.
Yes, usually the talon timing is a little quicker than the bear timing. This game is a little flipped when it comes to that. Usually you try to push your opponent into submission before the Master Bears are there. Here, it's a very good method for Foggy to catch up to how far ahead ReMinD is. But issue still, only a level 1 Panda. In the end, that's not really too great.
Yeah, Foggy's done an excellent job of pressuring the Panda. This Ogre Magi did go to the Panda there, so he's getting closer, I think, to level 2 there. And he did get, what did he get? Healthstone, that's an excellent item. I think Foggy's in a position now where, of course, he's behind. But I think he was even more behind on Northern Isles. So if anyone can find a way out of this, it's Foggy or Moon.
Or Moon, exactly. How stubbornly will ReMinD go into this once he sees the talons? Because Mountain Giants, again, will take quite some time. Is he ready for this? Both are staying below 50, obviously. Foggy just has to start production. ReMinD wants to bank a little more. They're both negating each other here.
That Rejuve is coming in handy. Alchemist third. Interesting for some Acid Bomb Focus Fire. Okay, maybe Foggy could think about doing the same just for heal spray instead. That, you know, Alchemist third for both players. Why not? This positioning is going to be much better for Foggy initially. He had a nice Archer arc, but that bear gets in range, and ReMinD just going to back away, waiting for more bears, but I don't see any in production because he's currently supply blocked with no 60 supply Moonwell on the way.
What? When do you ever see this hero combo? Potterm, Naga, Keeper versus Demon Hunter, Panda, Alchemist. This is 3 range heroes versus 3 melee heroes. I've never seen this before.
And there's no Dryads, and there's no supply to go Dryads, and of course they wouldn't even be that strong. The Focus Fire on the Panda, that's a ton of damage with the Entangle, and the Fairy Fire now as well. Panda goes down just on level 1, of course, but still, the Focus Fire is huge. The heroes are gonna have to tank. The Bears get in line, though, and it seems like ReMind's breaking through. And he's killing a ton of archers here.
Okay, but also Bears falling. They're, of course, high-value units. Keeper in a little bit of trouble, but moves back. This time the hero positioning a lot better. Oh, nice block by the Alchemist. Maybe not even really on purpose. Has not much catch in this army, to be honest, ReMinD. Also, it's going to be very tricky to position them correctly with 3 melee heroes. They can, of course, tank quite a bit. But once this game goes longer and we get Tri-Orb on Foggy, that's death.
Yeah, that's terrifying. I love myself some Tri-Orb as well. It's so good. And we're seeing, maybe wisely from ReMinD, just more archers. He's getting some Dryads now to counter that Entangle, I think, only. But yeah, he's just going archers until maybe he can get those Mountain Giants, because of course the Bears are just going to melt to the Talons, and the Talons are master trained in about a couple of seconds, 8 seconds on the board. Red Camp now going to go to ReMinD, and Foggy just creeping safe, but the Panda's at least going to get level 2 finally. It's been so long.
Yeah, I think ReMinD is pretty level dependent, like the Demon Hunter level 4, big upgrade, Panda level 3, huge upgrade, Alchemist level 2, very, very big for heal spray. On the other side, not really that much. Like Potterm, okay, it's always nice if you have a little bit more damage. Same goes for the Naga, if Fork Lightning is there and stuff, but it's really only about carrying orbs.
Yeah, I think that's definitely true. He's not level dependent, he's just orb dependent, and he's only got, I think, the one shop, so the cooldown, I think a few minutes at least to get that second orb. So he just bought the first one very recently, so it's going to be a while. But once Foggy gets all those, he's got the master training, he's going to be very strong. But of course, ReMinD, once he gets Panda level 3, if he does get eventually those Mountain Giants, Flute, that's not going to be useful at all, unfortunately. You would love to see it if you weren't for that Potterm, but still, items, quite good.
I agree. And now, it's Chemical Rage actually, no heal spray. Now ReMinD starts the Mountain Giant transition. Could have anticipated this maybe a little earlier, was waiting for the second lore though to get some Dryads out, because right now he has to have something against Cyclone. And you can't spend too much money on Wisp, that's super expensive down the road, so having a little Abolish is quite nice. This is a sneaky expansion, but you know what, Foggy, he figures this out immediately.
Yeah, Foggy does not often get caught slipping, and he will not today. Gonna find it right away. Yeah, I'm wondering, you mentioned, ReMinD not scouting those wins maybe early enough. Just one reveal. He had the Wisp there almost the entire game. He could have easily just checked the base. I think it would be, if ever you're going to do that preemptively, you should do it here in this stage, in this game. But now the tables have kind of turned. It's Foggy that has the timing to maybe pressure a bit, and ReMinD that needs to buy a little bit time, because he's got the upgrades, but he's got no Mountain Giants yet. He's building the Moonwells so he can break with double Mountain Giants.
That's still taking quite some time, but of course you want to bank. This is a matchup that really revolves around who breaks first, who squeezes out these 10, 20, 30 more gold to build another unit.
Yes.
Who's more patient here? And I think this will be Foggy. We know ReMinD since the fall season as one of the most aggressive players in the entire game. And Foggy, can he just sit and wait now that Mountain Giants are coming?
Yeah, and Foggy is expanding right now to his natural. It just got constructed. It's going to take a little while, but he's pressuring just to buy space for that. But once these Mountain Giants come out, especially with these hero levels that you mentioned earlier, it's scouted right away. Nice scout from ReMinD. That's something he could have done maybe to the main base, but now he's not slipping in sort of the early, late game here. Once those Mountain Giants come out, though, it's going to be a whole different game. I don't know if Foggy's going to be able to win a fight, a similar position that we saw on Northern Isles.
So, how do you counter Mountain Giants?
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Orbs, I suppose. A lot of orbs.
I think so, too.
Yeah.
Like, orb is the only damage. You could go into bears, of course. That
Yes.
would be the counter to the counter to the counter to the counter. But that would take forever. He has to build 2 lores. He has to get 2 upgrades. And then he starts production. In the meantime, there's a wall of Mountain Giants just clobbering down your base and all your buildings, and you lose. So, I think orb is the only answer.
Yeah, it does. They all stack up, and as soon as you start attacking those Mountain Giants, run away a little bit, do some damage. That's how you can chip away at the Mountain Giants. And another advantage for ReMinD is he could get a couple more bears too to heal up those Mountain Giants. Pressure on the Demon Hunter. Has to be careful. That's also a card on the table for Foggy. The hero focus potential. That's something ReMinD does not have.
Okay, there we go. Breath of Fire pretty much into nowhere, but it is level 2 now. The crowd control is excellent so far. Protection scroll, heal scroll, Invo Potion, double heal scroll on Foggy's side. This might be the fight, but Foggy is 25 supply down.
Ooh, yeah, hero focus is going to be really the only play. The Mountain Giants making the fight very, very tricky. The Talon's taking so much damage, despite there being no trees on those MGs. The Panda wants to get in range, has one more breath. I think we're going to see focus again on the Panda, but preemptive potion and vulnerability. Heal scroll is there, but look at the supply. Plus 30 now, the highest supply advantage ReMinD's had. Can he close it out?
MG equals GG. The wise Kevin Schwem has said this for a long time, and I think ReMinD approves. The Naga just falls to the focus fire from the back. The heroes clean the front, and the supply gap is growing and growing and growing, and we got ourselves another full series. ReMinD strikes back, and we get a deciding match for the first playoff spot of the DreamHack Finals.
Yeah, and an excellent strategical game from both players. The transition on both sides, this is almost a classical Night Elf mirror. When it's not Bear Mirror, it's all about when does my opponent counter my counter to the counter to the counter, like you mentioned. When does that happen? And we saw it back and forth and back and forth. Talons for the Bears. Oh, now I go MGs and Dryads for the Talons. And then eventually, I don't know what you go. We never saw the triple orbs. So really, I think the question still remains, if you get in that position that Foggy was in, how do you counter the Mountain Giants?
I think Foggy didn't really want it to let it go that late. That is, of course, the big mistake. of this game. Getting the level 3 Potterm slaughtered by the level 1 Breath of Fire. That was also an immense XP boost for that Panda, who a little bit later was biting the dust as well. But, you know, only level 1 hero. It's not that big of a deal. And Foggy was just losing so many units over there. It felt like every fight in this game here on LR was just ReMinD.
Yeah, did we maybe caster curse Foggy there? We said he doesn't make these small mistakes. That was quite the large mistake. Honestly, I would almost say an unacceptable mistake here. That was really, really rough. I think if he had not lost his hero there, he could have just pushed, done the standard Mass Archer timing, and he probably would have
retreat
won
a little
the game.
and then push again.
Even Town Portal out, you got to use it or you lose it. If you don't use it and you're going for an all-in, you might as well have sold it. So, you know, just TPing out there, heal up, get the heal scroll, protection scroll, and then go for the all-in after. He was in a great position Moonwell-wise, so yeah, I think he could have won, but that's just, again, I'll say it, an unacceptable mistake.
Okay, the stakes are pretty high here. The skill is very high, especially with these two players in this very matchup. No shame to lose a Knight of Mirror to ReMinD. The best to fall into him. A Colorful, who is the WGL champion in a final versus Moon, fell to him. And yeah, it is just ReMinD. He can do one thing super duper well, and that is Knight of Mirror. I think you can wake him up at like 3 AM and that's play a Knight of Mirror against Moon. Okay, I'm ready. I don't know. It's just a gift. It's just a gift of the gods for this guy to play Knight of Mirror.
Could you wake him up at 3 AM and ask, what is the counter to Mountain Giants when you have Mass Talent?
Ah, nobody knows that. Nobody knows that, I think. That's no sense. And man, high stakes. The map is now Autumn Leaves.
Yeah. Another map where maybe Potterm is a possibility, but I think more of the Huntress style, maybe even the Huntress into macro style that we've seen very often from both Foggy and Moon. I think this might be the map for it. The Concealed Hill, also a great map for it potentially. I think we'll see Potterm again, maybe even a Potterm Mirror.
Potterm Mirror. Yeah. Or the ultimate mind game. If you expect a Potterm, go for the Warden.
Go for the Warden. Yeah, chase it around, Shadow Strike, stay on level 1. It's been done. Not too common. A Keeper also kind of a meta game you could throw in there as well, but if there's a Demon Hunter, of course, with the Warden and the Keeper, it's going to be very tough. So it all comes down to maybe the hero choices, and then if it is the Potterm, you know, can the player get the tactical advantage, the strategical advantage? Because I do feel you need to get that early game unit composition advantage if you're going to play the Potterm.
Oh man, this is so high stakes now.
Yes.
Foggy, he didn't really expect the lower bracket, I think. Nobody expected him really to join the lower bracket. And ReMinD, everybody expected him there. It's quite the opposite. And it's all this experience by ReMinD and this big brain Warcraft. Who prevails now is the big question. Who joins the top 8? Who gets $5,000? Let's get it on. Let's go for the one deciding map in the winner bracket final of Group A. Who's the first one? It's definitely going to be a Night Elf, but is it Korea or is it Ukraine? We got ReMinD on the bottom left-hand side in the yellow.
Yep, and in the upper right, of course, now facing a tied series, facing the lower bracket, which isn't something he's been too used to. We're gonna see Foggy.
Man, we could get this Foggy versus Focus match that everybody was talking about prior to the day, but in the lower bracket, ReMinD, he's just full of surprises. Apparently, on good days, nothing can stop this man. Can Autumn Leaves, this third map, stop him? I don't know, man. I wouldn't like to face him right now.
Oh no, not at all. Terrifying, terrifying, and the hero might be terrifying as well. Okay, Demon Hunter versus Potterm again. Foggy's got the Potterm, but I don't think we're going to see the Archers this time. I think it'll be a different style. Of course, we'll open with Archers to get that Ancient War creep online for both players, get close to level 2. But then I think after that, we can expect to see a Hunter's Hall, maybe even a second Ancient War.
Yeah, I think this makes sense for Foggy. You could argue that, hey, you lost the last map with that hero and didn't really look too good and ReMinD looked dominant. Why are you doing this again? Well, Foggy can just show you how this is really done if he's not losing the hero. It was his mistake that tilted the scale in map 2 and said, okay, if I'm not doing that mistake, I can do better. It is a superior strat. I know this is working, and I'm going to show you.
For sure. Yeah, I hope Foggy can clean it up here. Not even only that, the Hunter's Hall was a little bit mistimed in the last game as well, so there's definitely a few places where Foggy could have cleaned it up. So we'll see if ReMinD can also step up his game a little bit if Foggy isn't making these mistakes here. And the Demon Hunter, although we keep saying, you know, it's not the best against Potterm, it's not as though it's a hard counter. It's not as though you just lose. There's always opportunity for the Demon Hunter to work if you can hold that early aggression and then go into the late game with that nice hero. So we'll see. Claws of Attack is going to be nice. Circlet is also great for Foggy. He may have preferred a Claws as well, though.
Yeah, but nobody will complain about these items, that's for sure. When we learned something about ReMinD from the Winnerbracket semifinal is he seemingly has no nerves. Like, he was so close to victory on map 2 already, and sometimes if you lose such a map, you could call it throw or whatever, or a strong comeback. Your mind starts working, and then you lose game 3 because the momentum is just on your opponent's side. But ReMinD, with, I don't know, almost 20 years of Warcraft experience, he was able to fix that. Now, the pressure is on Foggy, and it's going to be interesting how he deals with that.
All right, the second Ancient War, Huntress Hall about to be online, double Moonwell as well, right before nighttime, so those will start regenerating, whereas ReMinD just attacking. We'll see those 5 archers, and we'll see how he reacts to not the archers, but the Huntresses. What's the second hero going to be, I mean, in specific?
Foggy and the Masked Hunts, man. This was how he qualified for his first World Championship at GCS when the ping was against him, but he was able to cheese, quote-unquote, all the Asian Night Elves off of Natties, and now, 6 years later, still sticking to these guns. He was so good. He is so good with that. This could even be a push with APs. It could be a glaive push as well. There's plenty of options for Foggy and ReMinD. He has to scout every single move that Foggy does.
Yeah, the one downside with Autumn Leaves with that sort of push is you can't easily get the Zeppelin, but you could still creep it out if you're Foggy and get that, and it's not as though it's essential. Just, I think, the glaive throwers, the APs, having that heal scroll is what becomes essential, but we'll know that as soon as nighttime, or daytime rather, as soon as the heal scrolls spawn, that's when the push is going to be coming in. If not, we'll see an expansion around that timing.
Yes. And we have to keep an eye on the middle right of this map. There's the mercenary camp. You can pull out the creeps and still get the mercs, even though the camp isn't finished. And in a push, this could be super helpful, but also in a defense against Huntress, this could be super duper helpful as well. So I think this is why Foggy has an archer position there. If ReMinD goes that route out of his main, the target will probably be the mercenary camp, and he can jump on it. This mid-game is probably going to be pretty spectacular.
Yeah, that Berserker is super, super important. What's also important, having level 3 on the Priestess. That's a mistake I think maybe some lower level players make. They do not creep up the Priestess. They just pressure the whole game and then think, oh, why is my hero stuck in the mid-game? It's because you didn't get that level 3 early on. You didn't get those items. And now we have a Tree of Life coming up. So it is the macro style, but not sort of the juke and duck and dive style where you fake the push and then expand. It's just straight up.
Interesting situation. Foggy, of course, a big follower of every strategy Moon has ever played, and Moon introduced this to go mass Dryads from there on out. Can he go there? This should buy ReMinD a lot of time, but he has to learn about this. If he's going for an AP now or something, this is unnecessary resources that you really don't want to spend.
Yes.
You need to know about this expansion, and you have to ideally pressure and cancel it once or twice if possible.
Yeah, and we're already seeing single lore Ancient Wonders for ReMinD, which is, of course, if you knew you were against a macro style, you would just get your tier 3 and go your double lore right away. But getting the shop preemptively, we'll see what the second hero is. This could end up being quite a big mistake if he gets the wrong hero, but I think something like a Naga, a Panda, those would all be great choices. Maybe even the Panda the best choice.
Yeah.
Maybe the Dryads wouldn't be great, but nothing's really good against the Dryads, really, is the downside.
Well, Naga is kind of okay against... Naga's at least decent against everything. Nature's Blessing coming up as well. There's more and more indicators that ReMinD doesn't really know what Foggy is doing, but also Foggy doing a great job in zoning here and keeping his opponent in his base. He can't really do too much, but on the other side, Foggy isn't doing too much. But does he really have to if this expansion is coming up?
Not really. He's buying time also for an Ancient Protector to get up. He's going tier 2. He's catching out the archers, and this is really the big advantage. If the archers ever leave the base, that's what we see time and time again.
Sick blocks by Foggy here, catching 2 archers. That's a lot of damage. It's not that many resources, actually, but it is damage that you will need to tear down your opponent.
Okay, so the question now becomes, did ReMinD get a good read on the game? I don't believe he scouted the expansion, but if he was paying really close attention and ReMind's a super experienced player, Did he get a count on the Huntresses? We would normally see more Huntresses at this stage. We'd see a close to 50 supply Foggy. We'd see him actually, if he's going for the all-in, be 44 supply with 2 Glaive Throwers on the way.
Yeah, that should be 2 or 3 more Huntresses for sure. ReMinD must know by now. And what's his answer? He might bite himself a little bit. What the hell? Why didn't I see this earlier? Why didn't I scout this earlier? Because Foggy controlled you real well. Potterm now level 3 with a level 2 True Shot Aura that is more and more damage, but the crowd control is finally on ReMinD's side, and with that slow poison, he might be able to cause some damage.
Yeah, ReMinD could definitely win a fight at this stage. The issue becomes, though, he can't really win a fight at that AP at the expansion. That would be tricky. It's going to have lots of wisps to repair. He's probably even got a Moonwell there, honestly. If not, he will be reinforcing. Yeah, Moonwell, Ancient War, Ancient Protector. That is fortified.
This is almost reminiscent to how Foggy plays against Undead.
Right, yeah.
It's pretty much the same play. Expand. Okay, this is an earlier expansion than usual. The Zeppelin play won't work. Okay, ReMinD gets his revenge on the Zeppelin pilot. But yeah, Foggy expanding, fortify that expansion, explode into Mass Dryads, and win the game.
Yeah, Foggy just playing, it looks like pure hit and run based on the positioning of the army, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think he tried this against Moon in the War 3 Champions Finals. I think he did this style, but Moon had that Panda high level, which helped in the base trade. Of course, ReMinD gonna have the Naga here, which can fork Lightning the Wisps to stop the repair, to help in the base trading, but Foggy doesn't look to be taking a fight anytime soon, and I don't blame him.
He has a heal scroll and protection scroll. I can't deal with it, and he's buying more and more time. The Expo is running by now. He's getting a lot of income. Mana Stone, not the greatest for ReMinD either. It's not the item that you would like to see here. Is there a transition? No, not really. Yeah, there you see it. The income clearly in favor of Foggy right now. And ReMinD, he has the strike. He has the supply lead. He has decent heroes, not overwhelming heroes. But yeah, how do you break this? Can you just ignore the expansion and go for the base?
Maybe. Yes, that might be where the opening is. I see Foggy getting another Ancient Protector. I'm wondering if that is in the main base. And he's also got lures up now, too, for those Dryads that you previously mentioned. Plenty of archers, though. What is that? 9 archers on the field, maybe even 10 now, which is going to be a hard counter to the Dryads. But Foggy could just avoid the fight still.
ReMinD himself was trying to set an AP up close to Foggy's expansion. That was scouted and killed. Now, for defense purposes, gets one in his base. But okay, we might have the big fight here. Potterm, little exposed. But rest of the army should follow soon. There's a storm brewing for the quarterfinals and the biggest Warcraft event of all time.
Again, that AP becomes a thorn in the side of ReMinD for trying to break not just the expansion now, but also the main base. There's an AP at both places, and Foggy gonna look with those double extra Moonwells to break into upkeep soon enough. ReMinD is getting a little bit of a bank, but he doesn't have a 60 supply Moonwell, so he's gonna have to win a fight with what he has, or counter expand, which Foggy, with his positioning on the map, his aggressive positioning we've seen so far, is probably just gonna cancel it right away.
Second hero? What's this gonna be? Dark Ranger.
Very cool. Black Arrow.
Yeah, good against archers. Not too good against anything else. And ReMinD, he's taking to tier 3. This is not going to be an all-in push. I think if this would be an all-in push, the Dark Ranger is excellent. Against bears, though, what do you do?
Yeah.
Life drain.
Maybe, yes. Silence the rejuve. Go for hero focus. Who knows? Yeah, I think Foggy is thinking here, if I hold this push, if my expansion mines all the time it takes ReMinD to get to tier 3, then I've already won. I've got the Dryads, which do tend to counter bears quite well. The poison damage stacks, they do a ton there. So if he's at the 20 supply advantage, which he's already 15 of the way there, I think he'll win regardless of the secondary hero.
Fight brewing still. Ogre Mauler. Does that indicate that Foggy is feeling a little under pressure? Because that doesn't really do too much.
Yeah.
Especially not against Dryads that will never reach Dryads, really. And it gives a ton of XP.
Yeah, that's not going to be the super hard carry, but the supply may be 68 now against 49. ReMinD almost tier 3, but honestly, I say almost, it's still going to be another a minute and a half, 2 minutes before Master Bears are online, and he's going to have to break upkeep with them as well. The orb will be quite nice immediately at tier 3, but that's going to be about it.
The supply is huge, but how do you really engage? There are chokes here in the middle of the map. Not too easy, and now Foggy sees I do have enough time. I established a big 70 supply army. I can go for that tier 3 where ReMinD is soon to arrive as well. both neutralize each other. There's not going to be time for one single creep spot because then your opponent is just jumping on you. Excellent, excellent to see.
All right, March of the Trees from Foggy. ReMinD quite familiar from this. Echo Isles versus Grubby 2010. We all remember that game, but now it's going to be Foggy with the trees going forward. Can he position well enough? I think he can. Even a Zeppelin in the back. The AP might fall, but again, if Foggy just holds on, he's going to be 80 supply against probably 60. ReMinD, 1,000 gold in the bank, though. Tier 3 about to pop, so could he equalize because he's been on low upkeep for so long?
ReMinD is quite a baller here, not breaking upkeep. Now he does. He saw this army for quite some time. He has to play his tech advantage now. He has to get as many bears as fast as he can and do damage with it. Otherwise, Foggy has the same tech, decent heroes, double income, and then I don't see a real chance for ReMinD anymore.
And bears himself on the way. Double heal scroll for both. Is Foggy really trying to make it a triple? Ooh, baby. There we go. And with the protection scroll, Dark Ranger still level 1. Really not going to see a whole lot of impact from her this game, but
Not at
we'll
all.
see. We might see a couple skeletons here and there.
ReMinD the Madman canceled his production and is back in no upkeep.
Wow.
How much time can you stall?
And does he feel like, obviously, if he just waits, eventually he can walk his Tree of Eternity over. The economy might be even, but the issue is there's so much of the map uncrept still. Double red camps, both consumables are available, both big expansions are available, tons of experience to be grabbed by the player with map control, and that's definitely going to be Foggy.
Man, it's so cool to see Foggy, like 7 years after his first tournament appearance, where he was just this Seas player, where he went mass fairy dragons, mass air, mass hippo riders when they were unbuffed, and now to see what kind of strategic mastermind he has become in these 7 years. This is definitely the story of the last era of Warcraft. Foggy's rise, Lawlight's rise.
Yes. Yeah, when the debate was still, who's the best, Sonic, Rudan, Warchief Rit, or Foggy?
Yes.
The good old days with tons of European Night Elves. Now it's undisputedly Foggy. You know, he's even in the argument for best Night Elf in the world at times. And this tournament could definitely prove that.
Okay, Foggy now not out of position, but taking the time to go for the rat spot. ReMinD, can he strike with only 1 or 2 bears? Foggy has a TP, can easily go for that defense now, and he does, and ReMinD is pulling back right away. This time, he is committed to upkeep, but he's a 15 supply disadvantage, and can these archers do it now?
Actually, there's a ton of supply in Huntresses still. There was like, what, 12, 15 supply in Huntresses. The Dries in the back doing pretty good, but the Arc of the Archers on the side of ReMinD is also excellent. Moonwall saves that bear to the right side of the fight. It is still alive. Rejuve over top Huntresses. Now get on top of the Archers, and it's hard to tell who's trading better, but all Foggy has to do is trade evenly. He's still got that expansion.
Exactly. Foggy was dropping heavily in supply, but it was all the Huntresses, and now the bears and the rest of the Hunters are reaching the Archers, and that is a massive DPS drop, but oh, Dark Ranger almost falling, and it seems like Foggy, with the help of the shop and with the Moon Juice, he's able to hold this if there's no miracle, but never count a ReMinD out.
Oh, he's trying to continue the pressure. Of course, he knows he has to do something real here. He's got to get a hero kill, something like that, but the snowball from the Dark Ranger actually has quite a bit of effect. Now the tree comes back in. The block from the Ancient of War. Are you kidding me? All right, it doesn't land a hero kill there, but those Ancient of Wars have a lot of travel time on them.
Oh yeah, if you don't have a cheeky smile on your face after that move, I don't know. Reju on himself, but this bear is not gonna survive. Oh, is he? Maybe staff out? No, ReMinD down to 40. It looked kind of okay until the second half of the fight. The second half belonged to Foggy, and Foggy only. Top seed in the group, and probably also the top seed from Group A in the playoffs, which would mean he would dodge all the other group stage winners.
Yeah, and that's going to be great for Foggy's potential to even make it into the grand finals, if not, you know, a decently deep run for him. And now 80 supply against 49, and with, you know, 10 supply in trees to boot as well. He's still got some bad supply in that Ogre Mauler, but most of the Huntresses have now been cleaned up, all but, I believe, 2 in there. And there's 4 bears for ReMinD, but he's not really going to be able to win a fight, especially with those reinforcements coming in.
He has an entry protector now there as well. Is that the last fight of the winner bracket? It looks like Foggy is dominating by now after this strategic game. slow game. It was a lot about decision making, and it seems like for Foggy, these decisions were just better. Level 5 on the Potterm, who in the meantime decided to go for Owl Scout. We didn't even mention that, for more vision to just make sure, okay, you don't have a cheeky expansion somewhere, right? You don't hide anything from me. That Potterm made sure that that ain't happening, and ReMinD can fool him.
All right, AP gonna fall for the side of ReMinD. Ancient Wars maybe will eventually fall for Foggy. So much value from these, not just in the creeping, but the aggressive play with them. The Demon Hunter is tanking a whole lot of bears. He's trying to spread the poison damage to maybe hold on. The Fork Lightning also spreading the damage. Demon Hunter gets quite low. ReMind's doing a good job with what he has, but can he hold on now with all the yellow bears dropping super low?
Oh boy, the concave for Foggy seems to be a bit better. ReMinD is trying to pull away, but all these bears are wearing a crimson mask. Everything is hurt, and that is it. First player in the top 8 of DreamHack is Foggy, the European #2 in this group, #1.
Yeah, honestly, as expected, but ReMinD put up a hell of a fight there. He's got playing very, very well today. I think Foggy wasn't even in the upper hand, maybe mechanically, but it was just strategically. He found the openings with the Potterm and the Demon Hunter and made it work.
Yeah, I think what my takeaway from this is Foggy struggling a little more than we expected, and ReMinD a little stronger than we expected, but I'm very curious what Roddy and the boys have to say about that.
Thank you very much, Neo. Well, we have a lot to say about that best of 3, as Foggy is indeed the first player to make it into the playoffs. He lives up to the expectations, but boy oh boy, did he have to work for it. Todd, I'm gonna kick things off with you. That first game, what the hell happened in the end?
Honestly, I'm still not sure. It was crazy. It was all over the place. They were countering each other's heroes, like trying to anticipate what the opponent's gonna do. And yeah, the base race, I think Foggy just perfectly recognized that he could not defeat his opponent's army just because he had way too much. He was like, I'm just gonna base race and eliminate you. And Foggy is one of the best out there at those base races, and he proved it once again.
Do we have a nickname already for the Invisible Demon Hunter? That snuck to the other side of the map and got a couple of final hits off. Was this an amazing first game where ReMinD, I mean, do you really deserve the victory if you don't get it? But he did kind of deserve the victory, didn't he, Remo? He played one hell of a game, did almost everything right, except keeping a building alive.
Yeah, that was a bit of a soul-crushing one. He had such a big army, the Pit Lord worked out so well. But Foggy in these base races, how smart was it to sell that Orb of Venom and get them the Invis Potion? Foggy, a master at those base races. I was a bit worried for the Ukrainian at the very beginning, but boy, did he bring it back.
Yep, that second game, this was obviously a game-deciding moment once that Priest of the Moon went down. I do gotta say though, it felt like Foggy took care of business in the end. Looked in control from start to finish in that final game. However, I do believe that we have an interview ready where Todd is gonna have some words with the winner, Foggy.
Yeah, Foggy, congratulations. First of all, I would love to chat about the games. In game 1, it was a Demon Hunter against a Keeper. So what did you think exactly he was gonna do? What were you trying to achieve with that Demon Hunter first?
I didn't expect he played Keeper at all, so I was surprised. And after he took a Pit Lord, so I recognize it and understand that he will play Bears, because Keeper and Pit Lord, it's a good combination to play Bears. I have experience to play against this threat with American player RK, so I realize that I can't fight.
Yeah, you went for a base race, and I feel like you're one of the best players, if not the best player at base racing like this. Do you think that's the case, and do you think you're very good at recognizing when maybe you can't beat the opponent's army anymore? Because you also had a base race against Krav, actually, your first match in second game.
I'm lucky that I bought Vamp Aura, so first attack I survived, and after I defended well with Wisps and Moonwells. So yeah, I got a chance to go best rate, and it was a good decision.
In game 2 on Last Refuge, you went Priestess, and I think it was looking kind of good for you when you were pushing, because you had Priestess, Naga, a lot of archers, and he had Demon, and you were inside of his base, and then he ended up killing your Priestess. Did you think that your Town Portal was on the Priestess, or how surprised were you that you lost your hero level 3 there?
Yeah, I didn't expect he focused my Priest of the Moon, because she's so tanky with level 3, so I give TP to my Naga, because she weakest than Priest, and after I so that my priest close to die, and just with a bad position and to micro and give TP to priest. So after I lost all my timings.
So now with that first place finish, you're through to the quarterfinals. If all the favorites in the other groups make it through, what do you make of your chances against all the big names out there, against the Moons, Happy, potentially Hitman, Xlord, and all these guys? Are you feeling confident right now? Are you on top of your game?
Yeah, I feel confident because before I played a lot of tournaments in China offline. It helped me to be confident and play without any pressure. So yeah, I think I can beat everyone. Just need a good strategy and try to do not mistakes.
All right, thank you so much, Foggy. Congratulations once again. We're going to head to a break, guys, and then we'll be right back with the next match. See you just right after this.